Welcome to Be Bold Branding. Today's guest is one of our BrandFace real estate agents from Peachtree Corners, Georgia. She's going to share her personal branding journey as well as how she transitioned from a real estate investor to residential sales. I'm Tanya Eberhardt, founder of BrandFace. We help business stars differentiate themselves, and we do that through personal branding.
And I'm Michael Carr. I'm the COO of BrandFace. I was actually a client before I became a partner in the company. We're the only comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe. And we do Be Bold podcast to help people take the fear out of putting themselves out there. And you're going to love the guest that we have on today. Welcome, Janine Best.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're so glad that you're here. And I'm also glad that you're, in Georgia too, which I love,
I know. We're practically neighbors. I love
exactly.
That.
We are.
And when we talk real estate, we get to talk real estate about our areas and things that we know about our specific areas, which is awesome.
So let's start with this, Janine. Tell us how and why you got into real estate in the first place.
Sure. So in 2016 is when I was sitting at my corporate job here in Georgia at my office, and my husband called me and he said, "Can you get a day off on Friday?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, I want you to come to this seminar with me. I want to learn how to invest in real estate." And so I called in sick. Don't tell my old boss. Called in sick for work, and we went to a 3-day seminar. So it was all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, downtown Atlanta. And we were immersed in this how to invest in real estate. So not only, your typical landlord and rentals, but also flipping houses. And so that's really how we started, my husband and I, and we're partners in our investing side of the business. And that's how we started. That was that weekend.
That's fantastic.
That's a great story.
Yep. And this hits close to home for me too, because I love real estate investing, especially residential. And a lot of people, you run into it all the time. I'm sure people will be like, "Oh, I would never invest in residential, too many problems." But if you handle it correctly, it's easy peasy. You can handle it. And it's so much money to be made in it. So we speak that same investor language. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yes. And what I love about it is there's so many different routes you can go. As I mentioned, the rental side, and like you said, that might not be for everyone because they don't want to manage toilets and trash. Is what we do. Toilets, tenants, and trash, right? The 3 T's. But there's so many other areas that you can make money, and especially with the market right now, the way things are going with residential, it's through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband and I, after that 3-day weekend, we decided we wanted to go all in. We wanted to start buying homes, fixing them up, and selling them hopefully for a profit. Of course, right? That's the goal, is not doing it for fun, but also need to make some money.
Right.
So we ended up buying 4 homes. While I was still working full-time at my corporate job. He works full-time. He still does work full-time for his employer. And after those 3 homes, we were successful in selling them. We purchased them right. We renovated them. We sold them. And I said, okay, I think we can do this. I need to jump in with 2 feet, and I want to do real estate full-time. So in 2017, I gave notice to my employer, and immediately the next week I started my to get my real estate license, and the rest is history.
So this is where my favorite part of the story comes in, which is where you came to us recently. Tell us why you wanted to come into the BrandFace program.
Yes. So after having my real estate license since 2017 and being known as an investor since 2016, I had that great base of knowledge from the investor side of things. But really, when 2020 hit, I really wanted to change focus and focus on being a real estate agent, being a realtor, and not so much on buying and fixing and flipping homes. So I still had that investor niche. So last year was a great year. I had a lot of investor clients. So 2021 came along and I really wanted to improve my branding. So I started out the year and I saw a Facebook ad for BrandFace. And it really just spoke to me and what I wanted, because I wasn't sure if what I was doing, what I was saying was the best for me, because I had neighbors literally right next door to me not choose me as an agent. And that was last year. And that hit hard. It hit home. And I was worried that it was because they thought of me as an investor and not as a realtor. So that was really my motivation, was my neighbor choosing someone else. This year then I started working with you all and BrandFace, and really trying to revamp my message and making sure that that everyone understands why I'm different than some of the other agents in the area.
I love that.
I do too. I remember talking to you early on and you said, I don't want to be known as an investor anymore. Leave that off the table. I want to be known as residential real estate sales. And, we talked about it and we're like, okay, but that is your point of differentiation. So we can't leave that off the table. It has to be sewn into your story somehow.
Right.
And so, but when we came back to you and said, no, Janine, like we've got to at least put that in here, because that is why you're different. What were you thinking?
I was a little skeptical, honestly, at first. But then when you go through all the pieces that we've created and, through my bio and everything, it weaves in, the story weaves in perfectly. As you said, that's how I differentiate myself. I still wanted to keep my investor clients and I still wanted to grow that, but I also wanted normal clients to also consider me as their real estate agent as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that experience level, though, of being an investor, it does give you so much more in-depth knowledge, right? Because you know what it's like not only to buy your own home, which is fine, and that would be enough, right? But when you have bought, sold houses, when you've gambled against the market, and when you've taken the chances, markets turn, and you still have this asset, when you've explored every option for how you can monetize those assets, no matter what happens to the market, all that, it just gives you so much more breadth of knowledge that helps even the first-time home buyer, like whatever that person is and wherever they are, that had to come out in your brand because it is valuable. It's so valuable to people. And here's to no more neighbors not choosing you.
Exactly. Which, by the way, to all of you listening right now to this podcast, we know that every single one of you has experienced a neighbor, a friend, or even a family member not buying from you, not using you as a real estate agent. Who knows why? Who knows what's going through their head?
Can't figure it out.
Nope. But we can tell you that the better you define yourself and put yourself out there in a very concrete way, that happens less and less. We're not saying it'll never happen again, but we think the odds of it happening again are much slimmer than they were before.
Right.
It's so true. And the people that do choose you are the right people for you. And I think that's the most important thing. I've said it from day one, life is too short to dance with ugly personalities. Yeah. And so you want to attract, and when you're spending money on advertising or whatever it is, you want the people that you enjoy working with, that have those common denominators and stuff. And if that happens to not be your cousin and they didn't want to use you, it's okay. It probably saved you. That's the way I like to look at it.
That's true. That's true.
There's always a bigger, better bus pulling out, right? Pulling up to the front door. So, it's really a good thing. I'm excited about getting into that. We're going to get to your brand identifier and everything. So we'll get to that. But I want to ask you another question. Was there anything you were afraid of in coming into the program? Anything you had trepidation about?
So I remember at the beginning, and Tanya, I think you actually did my original, before I got into the program. I think you were my original person that I spoke with.
Right.
And you said, literally, we will do everything. You have one thing to do after you get into the program. And after that, it's hands off. And so when I heard that, I was like, okay, this is for me, because I'm a finance major at heart, and of course in sales and understand the investor side, but marketing's not my thing. I that's why I wanted to work with someone who knew what they were doing, that is great at it, and really just to keep me hands off, and you guys focus on what you do best. And then we can go from there. So that was the biggest thing, is how much of a time commitment is it going to be? And really, you nailed it on the head. I really didn't have to do much, which was great, other than, make sure that I liked everything that you came up with, and, made some suggested edits, but that's it. It's a hands-off program, and I'm very happy with the results.
That's awesome. That makes us happy, because that's the goal.
You couldn't have said anything better to us today, because it's hard to get people to understand. They think they're going to have to spend hours and hours each week in this, because it's their brand and they're so attached to that, as well they should be. There's no question about that. But there's that trust level that I told Michael early on in our story, together. He didn't even want to be my client for a while, right? In the early stages of when we first met each other. And he kept asking me question after question. And finally, I just got so sick of it one day. I said, look, Michael, I've answered every question very well that you put forth before me. And you're just going to have to trust me.
Right.
And he said, okay. And he said, well, I was going to hire you a couple of weeks ago, but I just had to put you through the ringer a little more. That's the truth. That is the absolute truth.
Oh, I love it.
But it is true that, he said, I don't want to do this because I don't have time to do this. I've hired 4 or 5 other people just like you, and I don't need another one. That's another thing he actually said to me. Am I sounding bitter at this point? Because I'm not.
No, because with the backstory, it's okay, because
it's all the truth.
I had never hired anybody like her, but I didn't know. I had quantified her.
So you hired people like me.
But I had hired people who claimed certain things about what they were going to do. Right. So I understand when people they have a little bit of that. Am I going to have to work? I don't have time for this. I need to focus on what I'm focusing on. Right. And
exactly.
You can't take your eye off the ball just to do this. Right.
Mm-hmm.
When in actuality, if that is what you had to do, it would still be the best investment you ever made. Right. Because it's investing in you.
That's true.
Really, this is your story, your brand. Yep. It's what you put out there, project to the world to attract exactly what you want in your life.
Right.
And so it is that important. But what makes it even better is to have somebody else just do it for you that you can trust to do that.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad you felt you could trust us.
Yes.
And you allowed me to give feedback too. There was and you gave me so many different options too. When I said, I don't know about the logo, you and I sat on Zoom here and just went through, okay, what don't you like about this? Okay, what if we did this? And we just did it and knocked it out. So I love that.
Good. There's like a formula to that. You go through a couple of phases, and if it's not hit, I always come into the team and say, if we don't get it on this try, put them on the phone with me, because we're going to figure out what they don't like, and it reverse engineer, right? And
instead of just going back and forth, it's missing something.
Because you don't have time for a million emails, right? We don't either, but you definitely don't. That's why you came into the program, because you didn't have time for all that back and forth. It's like, get to it, right?
Yeah.
So that's good. So let's talk about your brand. Tell everyone what your brand identifier is and how that fits you.
Okay, so I'm married into a great last name. So my last name is Best. So of course, I was hoping you were going to use that in my brand identifier, and you came up with a great one. So my brand identifier is your best move.
I love that one. Even if we do say so ourselves.
Oh, I know. I remember when Tanya came to me, and she's like, it's before I had met you, and she came and she says, hey, I've got this great agent, and the team has come up with this, and she's filled out a her
questionnaire.
And, this is what the algorithm came up with. And then this is where we double checked it or whatnot. But look at her name right here. And I'm like, oh man, I hope she chooses your best move. Like I'm sure, and I remember when we shared it with you, we kept that towards the end, but you did.
Please pick
but we were like fingers crossed, like, oh, I'll choose this one.
Yes.
Because it's important, obviously, that we tell people this all the time. You have to live this brand. Like it doesn't work if you don't live it. And so it has to be who you are naturally. And when somebody has a great name like that says so much to their clientele, then we always do hope that they take it. And you can't beat the best. You can't beat the best, right? It's inarguable. You're the best. You're Janine Best.
You can't. And what makes it even so much better is she really is.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh, you guys are too sweet.
Yeah, we're just realistic. like you really do care about who you're working with. You care about the decisions that they're making, that they make the best decision for themselves, right? Not just for your business, but for themselves, because that's where it all begins. And you can't have a brand identifier that doesn't fit you, because it won't be too long before it all crumbles like a house of cards.
Mm-hmm.
You can't live something that you don't have already.
Right.
Absolutely. And I love the play on words too, not only with my last name, but you can use it in so many different ways. Your best move for choosing me, your best move for, listing your home with me, all different.
Helping you make your best move ever, right?
Yes.
The best move possible from one part of the country to another, from one home to another, one neighborhood to another.
Yes.
So it's multi-purpose, which is one of the things I loved about it too.
Yeah,
yes,
agreed.
Absolutely. And it fits anywhere, because and we'll get into that. I'll let you tell everybody what your brand identifier or your elevator pitch is later. So let me ask you this: what was the easiest part of the program, you think, going through it?
The easiest part. The easiest part, I guess, we're just going through the modules, and they're so, you guys, I'm sure you've recorded them and refined them and edited them and changed them over the years, and they're just so easy and user friendly, and really spoke to what I was going through at that time in the program. So very easy, very concise. Step by step. I didn't have any questions afterwards. So I think that's probably the easiest part. The modules were great.
What was the hardest part, you think?
The hardest part was probably that darn logo.
That's so true. That's so true. It is such a part of your identity, because it's one way we visually express what we stand for, right?
Yes.
And it has your brand identifier built into it. Your best move, Janine Best.
Yep.
So it has to represent visually that ethereal thought process we have about what we stand for.
Right.
And it can be very, very difficult,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people focus too much on what the logo looks like, and they're thinking, I got to have the perfect logo. Yeah. Honestly, there are a lot of people that feel like, okay, I've got a logo, I got a photo, a tagline, I'm good to go. That's my brand. That is not a brand. Those are three elements of a brand. That's not a brand. Right. But so that's where, the rubber meets the road. It's like, okay, we will take as long as we need to perfect this logo for you, as long as you understand it's not the only thing that represents your brand. Right. And you knew that coming into it, but still it's a very critical piece that you want to feel, right? You just want to feel like that represents how I feel.
Right.
And strangely enough, a piece of graphic art, can represent how a person feels. Yeah. And we take the time, whatever it takes, to get that look right. And I think that's important to you, for sure. It's important. It would be important to us too.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah, me and her argued over my logo. Argues way too strong a word.
He says, I'm 95% sure I like my logo and that we're keeping it. That's 8 years later.
Oh yeah. I still throw it up every now and then. I'm 95% sure I like that logo.
95.
Yeah, 95. Yeah, 95. You see, he's very difficult.
Meanwhile, we put it everywhere.
That's why I'm so happy with clients like you. Right? All right. So, this podcast is called Be Bold Branding. So how does your brand make you feel bolder?
That's so going back to my investor days, really, you encouraged me to have that as the center really of my message. Because I can walk into a home and use that experience and say, okay, well, we can knock out this wall. Kitchen's going to cost this much. We can, convert this closet into a half bath. So really having that vision that I could share and express with my clients, so that because a lot of people can't see that or have any idea of how much that costs or how they could make a house a home for them. So really taking that investor knowledge that I have and making that at the forefront. So I can express that when I have buyer clients and we're walking through a home and they don't like something, if it's the paint, then that's an easy fix. If it's the floors, whatever, I can really take that experience and share with them how much that would cost to fix it, to make it what they want. So they're not throwing away potentially good houses, especially right now with a very slim market with not a lot of options, not a lot of inventory. You have to be creative, and a lot of buyer clients can't see that. So I can help them do that.
That's excellent.
Well, what I love about that is there are a decent amount of people out there who can look at something and say, change that paint color, put a wall in here, take that wall out, put new flooring in, new granite countertops. You'll get, it'll look better. But there aren't a lot of people with the experience of that, of actually doing that, knowing how much it costs, knowing whether or not you're pricing it out of the market,
right?
Knowing a lot of those things that are going to make it like flippable, rentable, whatever, and
right.
You have that experience. There's a big difference between just being able to see something, visualize something, and actually experiencing it and doing it.
Right.
And I think that's really where your expertise comes in, is both of those together.
Right.
Sure.
And I still have my relationships with my contractors that I used to use on my personal home. So I know I've vetted them. They've worked with me, and I know what their pricing structures are. So not only for buyers, but also for listing clients. If I go into a listing appointment and see things that I would renovate to get top dollar, we can talk about different opportunities. Either we can list as is, and this is what I would list it as, or if we renovated your master bathroom for this price, then we can list it at this, higher price, and have them make the decision. So there's not a lot of agents that know how to do that and can do that.
And time frame is very important too, because working with those contractors, like, they all are like, I can get to it tomorrow, or it's going to be 2 weeks. And it's never tomorrow. It's never 2 weeks. So, So you're going through it, that. So you could say, I know he said 2 weeks, but look, we need to plan on it.
Let's plan 4 or 5. Yeah,
exactly. Yep. And they're all like that. And it's not really their fault. The industry's just built that way because there's always some hang up somewhere down the line.
That's true. And weather is a big factor right now with materials, with lumber, windows, appliances, you name it. Paint right now is in paint. Yes.
I know.
Sherwin-Williams doesn't have paint right now. So it's just crazy. So you have to, know what's going on in the market as well to be able to anticipate timing, because that's huge.
It's very big, very big. All right. So tell us how your brand has helped you set you apart and help you secure more business.
So really, I think the biggest thing is I'm getting additional clients to not only see me as that investor, but really being able to see that is advantageous, because I do have that additional knowledge. Not that I only work with investors, but that I could take it to the next level. Take either the contractor situation or for how we can price the house based on additional renovations to do, or even just little things like fixtures and things. So really being able to put myself out there as a normal real estate agent. I can help normal people too, not just investors.
So that'll segue nicely into the next question. There are agents and brokers out there who are really kind of afraid to put themselves out there in the way that you've chosen to do by going through the BrandFace program. What would you say to them about becoming a BrandFace?
I really would say that it's definitely worth the investment. You're investing in yourself for education. You're investing in your leads. This is another area that, unless you're a marketing guru, That's another area that agents just aren't specialists for, that you need to hire someone to help with. So just like everything else, you have to invest in yourself. And this is one of those areas that I would highly recommend.
Yeah, thank you. This is your story, I mean, this is the place to invest in yourself, because this is your story, and your brand and all the elements that surround that are what you put into all of your marketing and advertising moving forward.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like where you start. It's kind of like the foundation of a home. You can't put up the walls and the windows and the roof until you've got the foundation. And this is the foundation.
It
Absolutely.
is. So many people tell us, well, I'm going to go get a couple of leads, couple of deals in, and then I'm going to start working on my brand. And we're like, well, then you're a couple of leads, couple of deals too late, because it really needs to be something that goes out there first. We know, and I'm a broken record about this, but NAR proved it years ago, before the internet really took over our lives, and
Sure.
definitely before a pandemic where internet became so much more prevalent in our lives. People look us up before they call us, before they contact us. I had a mortgage broker that one of our preferred, on our sales call this morning, and she said, she's a lot of times people calling the mortgage broker is like calling the dentist because your tooth hurts. Like you don't want to hear the bad news. It's going to cost you money. It's just easier just to squat sometimes. And people see real estate agents the same way a lot of times. They're like, oh man, if I call all these real estate agents, they're going to hammer me and pepper me with phone calls and stuff like that. Let me look them up first. And they go to your social media, and they go to your website, and they read your story, and they read your reviews. They want to know who they're dealing with before they pick up that phone, because they don't want to be halfway committed to somebody they're not going to work with, and they don't know, and all this. And to me, it's never been a better time to get your brand, your story out there, best foot forward, so people can understand how you are their best move, period. And if they decide after they look you up that, okay, that's not the way I want to go, then let them, because you want the ones that know you are. And those transactions are so much smoother. We've got enough problems in the transactions with everybody else we have to deal with. Our clients should be our friends. Like, they should be people that want to work with us and work good with us. And your story is how they find that. So
and you spend so much time, as you know, Michael, when you're going through a transaction, you spend multiple times a day on text and email and phone and in person with showings and viewings, and you become part of their lives for a few months of time of working with them, that you want to make sure that it works both ways. So it's important for them to hire the person that they would work well with, and vice versa.
Agreed, 100%. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Janine, we just think the world of you, and we're so glad you came into the program. You're a part of the BrandFace family forever now, and we're always here to help you and continue to help you grow that career. You're a doer. I love doers. Like, you guys don't back up. I love it. You call in sick, and we're going to this seminar, and then we're going to buy some houses, and you get out there and do it. And I love that, because that's the secret, and that's really the sauce to it. And then when you spin that story on there, and you're authentic to the story that is your brand, and you live and eat and breathe that brand, it's just abundant. It's going to continually pay off dividends for the rest of your career. And we wish you all the success.
We wish you all the best.
We know all the best.
All the best, because you deserve it.
Yep. Sure.
Well, thank you guys for everything. I appreciate your team. Everyone was very responsive and willing to make changes and suggestions and edits, and really valued my input and listened. So I appreciate that as well. You've got a great team behind you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. We're very proud of them.
We're very proud. We're very proud.
And hey, to you guys out there, if you have any questions about your brand, or you want to learn more about branding, if you have a brand or exactly what that means, you can go to discussyourbrand.com. That is discussyourbrand.com. And it's a free 30-minute session with our team members. And you can it doesn't cost you anything, obligate you at all. We love to talk about the subject and the changes in the subject that's coming up. So call us and book that appointment. We'd love to talk to you.
Yep. And if you like what you heard today, if you'd like to be the best, we encourage you to like it, love it, share it, and ding, subscribe, so you can be the first to know when the next podcast premieres.
Thank you, Miss Janine.
Thank you, guys.
All right, folks, listen, we know it's about prosperity. And when we start talking about prosperity here at BrandFace, we're not just talking about money, although that's very important. We're talking about the 360 of an abundant life that we truly wish for each and every one of you. We know that prosperity favors the bold. So we say, be bold, folks, especially with your brands and especially in 2021. And thank you, Ms. Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you both. And we'll see you next time on Be Bold Branding.